Alright y'all, so today we're making Cajun chicken stock, and what we're going to be using today, this is going to be the easy version. We're using a rotisserie chicken, so that way we don't have to deal with, deboning a chicken and roasting bones and doing all that. We're using bell peppers instead of carrots, so that way we get a consistent Cajun flavor. And we're going to be cooking this for a long time, so that way we get the good richness of a homemade stock. And this will make your gumbo, your jambalaya, your etouffees, your smothered chicken, whatever you're going to make. Your rice, if you cook your rice in this, it's going to be better. Anything you make at home is going to be so much better with this chicken stock. Okay, so we're going to start off with an onion. We're actually going to do 2 onions on this, but for this first one, we're going to chop it in half, like so. And then we're going to roughly kind of chop this. We're going to leave the skins on, get rid of some of that extra stuff, but we're going to leave the skins on, the root and pack, chop it like this, and then throw it into the stock pot, alright? And the skins will add a little bit of flavor, a little bit of color. Not a huge deal. You can get rid of the skins if you want to, but we'll deal with the other onion here in a little bit. Alright, so now we're going to do 2 bell peppers. I'm going to roughly chop these. When you're making a stock, you don't want to chop anything too small because it's going to fall apart. So you want to kind of chop these roughly in big chunks so that way you can easily fish them out later. And so we see this here, and we'll get rid of these seeds and this little bit of membrane that's inside, because we don't want that in anything. But from here, and if you want to make a French style stock, use carrots instead of bell peppers. But we'll just roughly chop these and then throw them into the stock pot as soon as we're done. And we want them to be about even size. So, and the reason for that is so that they cook evenly, not for anything else. We're not going to eat these, we're going to strain them out. So just chop them approximately evenly. Now we have our celery, and we're going to take this and we're going to chop off the root end. The root end is very bitter, it's not going to taste good, and then we'll just chop these in half and kind of roughly chop these so that way they'll fit nicely into our stock. And we don't want to have too small pieces that they fall apart while we're cooking, so we really just want these nice large chunks of celery so that they easily strain out. And we're going to do this with all 3 of these stalks of celery. You can use another one or another less, it's up to you, but this way we get enough of the salt out of the celery, because we're not going to add any salt to this stock. So we're going to chop these up like so to make sure we get all that good celery flavor. And here you go. Okay, so now we're taking our second onion and we're chopping it in half the same way we did the first time. But now what we're going to do is remove the skins. Unlike the first time, we're going to remove the skins, and then we're going to julienne this onion. And what that means is after we remove these skins, we're going to slice off the root end and the top end. And then we're going to slice these here like you'll see in just a moment. But we'll first reframe the camera so you can see. But what we're going to do is make this a little bit more manageable. So again, slice off the tip, comme ça. Slice off the root, comme ça. And now we're going to take it and we're going to go at this at an angle so that way we get even sliced onions. And this isn't so important. I just want these to caramelize a little bit quicker and a little bit more evenly. So slice them however you have to slice them. It doesn't really matter. This is just kind of the faster way to do it. Okay, so now we have our chicken, and we're going to break it apart. Now this is a rotisserie chicken. It's going to be pretty easy to pull apart. So you see here, I just kind of pulled it apart, and it broke apart at the joint. I didn't really have to work too hard at it. So separate the thigh and the leg there. So okay, that just came right off. Thigh and leg separate right there. Good piece of skin. Now we're going to take off the wings. They'll probably just break right off, but I might have to wiggle the knife here and there. I don't know. Yep, cut through there. And same thing on the other side. There we go. It's going to come pop right out. Now the breast we're going to cut off. And, you know, we're going to cut this off. We're going to go right along the center part here and keep the knife against that. And just kind of peel the breast off. Now, with this, if you buy a whole rotisserie chicken, you can use the meat in your gumbo, which is fine. But I'm not making a gumbo out of the stock. I'm going to put all this meat in stock. So I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. But everything that you see here is going into my stock. It's going to add a lot more flavor. You know, but do what you will with that. If you're just buying the rotisserie chicken to put the meat into the gumbo, save this meat. You can totally do that. But here we go. We're going to get that little bit of meat off up there. And there you have that chicken. Go ahead and pop these pieces out here. There you go. Alright, so we've got our skillet here heating up. We're going to add some duck fat. You can use butter or olive oil or some neutral oil like vegetable oil. But you'll want to add some little bit of oil to the pan before we add our onions. And that's going to allow those onions to caramelize a little bit better. But here we'll add our fat here in just a second. And start heating that up and then add our onions. Alright, we're going to let these onions caramelize down like this, and it's going to take them a little bit, probably about 30 minutes, but we'll keep checking back in as they continue on. You'll see they start to develop a nice brown color, and I've only done half the onions, alright, so the only onion that's going in here is the one I julienne. And that's going in here in order to make it a little bit darker, bring out some of the sugars, bring out some of the onion flavor. But you'll see here it got quite a bit darker, and from here we're going to let this cook down a little bit more, and once it's ready we're going to add about, I don't know, about half a cup, 3/4 cup of white wine. And the reason we're going to do that is because there are certain flavors that are only soluble in alcohol. So we're going to add the wine, we're going to let that deglaze the pan. We're going to add the juices from the rotisserie chicken to bring out the flavor as well. But we're gonna, you're not going to taste the wine, so use cheap wine. Use the cheapest wine you can get. Go to Walmart, get the $3 wine, it's good to go. But once this is ready here, go ahead and add the white wine. Comme ça. There we go. And we'll deglaze the pan. We'll get up all those brown bits on the bottom. Now this stock is going into gumbo, so I want to make the stock as nice and brown and flavorful as I can. If you're making anything else, you may want to keep a nice light color to it, and we'll go over that in a separate video, but this is basically a brown stock. But here we see all the nice bits of fond coming up off the bottom of the pan, and here in just a second we'll add the juices from the rotisserie chicken after we get up all that goodness. Stir that up. Alright, that looks good. And we'll add in the rotisserie chicken juice. There we go. Lovely. We'll stir that up. We'll I don't know, reduce it down a little bit, take it off the heat. And then after a little while, we'll add that into the stock pot. Right. So I've got the rest of my Trinity here, and we're adding that to a hot stock pot. Hold it there. There we go. And once that's in, we're then going to take the pan, add the rest of the onions and the wine and the chicken juices there. Well, we're going to let that heat up for a second. Alright, so now we're going to stir it up a little bit, get it mixed together. And then as soon as that's done, we're going to pour in our caramelized onions with the white wine and the chicken stock. There we go. Put that all in. Now we're going to give it a good mix. Yeah, there you go. That smells great, by the way. If you can't smell this, I mean smell it. Like, do it, try it, smell it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and start throwing in our chicken that we chopped up earlier. Boom, there you go. Just get all that in there. If you have any other spare bones from other rotisserie chickens or other, whatever, leg bones or you know, breast bones or whatever, throw those in there as well. They'll only add flavor. Yep, there we go. A little bit more. Okay. And a whole head of garlic that we've cut in half across the equator. Like that. There you go, throw that in there. Water, and I ended up adding a little over 4 quarts of water. I'm sure you don't need to watch all of that, but it was about 4 quarts to basically cover all the chicken, all the vegetables. Parsley. There we go. We're going to add some bay leaves. And fresh bay leaves, if you can find them. If not, dried works fine. And then after our bay leaves, we're going to add some sage. There we go. And we're going to find some black peppercorns. We're going to add those too. A lot of the French recipes specify kind of, 15 black peppercorns. I'm here to tell you, if you're only adding 15 black peppercorns into this much stock, you're not going to taste it. So I add a little bit more, but there we go. We're going to get everything combined in there, and then we're going to bring this up to a simmer. And we're going to simmer it for a couple hours at least, right? So we want to let this spend some time developing flavor. All right, so we're going to simmer this, and we'll be back with you. All right, so our stock is done simmering, and we're going to strain this off. I'm going to pour it through a sieve so we catch all the herbs and the chicken and all that good stuff. And we'll be left with about 4 quarts of stock, which is plenty to make anything. You can put these into mason jars or whatever. There shouldn't be too much fat left at the top, but if there is, go ahead and skim it off. But yeah, we're going to strain this through here, and we're going to cool it down as quick as we can, and from there we'll either freeze it or put it in the fridge to use in a gumbo later. But here you'll see we have nice color stock, and it's going to taste nice and chickeny. And we did this using that rotisserie chicken, which is the easy way to do this. If you didn't have a rotisserie chicken, always save your leftover chicken bones and pork bones and all that, because you can use those to make a stock. But in this case, we had a rotisserie chicken, so we put all that in there. You know, what we didn't, what we had meat. If you don't have the meat, make up for in bones, and you'll get something equally as good. And you want to cook this long enough to where the collagen and the connective tissue of the bones kind of unravels and breaks down, and that'll provide a nice richness that you just won't get from store-bought stock. And on top of that, since we're making it homemade, we're not doing it the French way, we're doing it the Cajun way. So we're adding bell peppers instead of carrots to maximize that Cajun flavor in the gumbos or jambalayas or etouffees or whatever you're making. It'll be really good, and it'll be consistent. If you use carrots instead of bell peppers, you'll get kind of a weird conflict of flavor here, but we'll just keep straining this off and cool it down, and that's basically it. That's how you make a good Cajun chicken stock.